I love indie horror. I try to read a few a month. So the book we're going to talk about today is an indie horror, and it is called The Vein by Steph Nelson. When I got this book, this is a review copy, and it was sent with a couple other books that I had read. I didn't know anything about it, and so it had been sitting on my shelf for a while. And The Vein, I thought, oh, this is probably going to be like a vampire book. It's not at all. Imagine my surprise. So I start reading it, immediately gripping. I'm immediately just pulled into the story. The Vein is about these mines that are in this town of Pate, Idaho. Follows this character, Syl. She was a detective. She had moved away from town. She's just come back and she's staying at her grand's house. Her grand had disappeared years ago. She's gonna go through her things and eventually sell the house and get out of there. So this is where she grew up. And so she's contacted by the local police department because they want her to come and possibly help them they found this dead body in one of the mines called Lucky Dog Mines. Apparently it's under weird, mysterious circumstances. So she's like, okay. She's like, I don't want to work on the police force, but I will come and give you my assessments because she was a detective and all that good stuff. So she goes with them. They go into the mine. It's a bit of a ways in until they get to the body, and the body is all shriveled up and looks like a mummy, decaying, and it looks like it's been there for a long time. Only thing is, this person has only been missing for 24 hours. WTF. Okay, that's where we come into in this book. Curious and curiouser. So at first, Syl was like, just gonna check this out. Da-da-da-da-da. She thought it was gonna be like a routine dead body, probably figure out what was the cause of death, but they have no idea the cause of death, so her interest is piqued a bit. And then the other two, I guess one's the rookie and the other guy, one of the other police officers, were like, cough, cough, what about blah, blah, blah? This other family and these other people that had gone missing. And then the sheriff guy's like, oh, no, there's no connection, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And so Syl's like, are you sure? What is up with these? And then she finds out, yeah, there's totally a connection between these families. And so you flip between timelines in this. And I know sometimes for some people, they don't like that. So if you're someone who doesn't like books where they flip between timelines and that's a little too jarring, I get it. So maybe this book won't be for everyone, but I loved it because I feel like it needed that richness and that backstory that you get, because you're going between present day, and this is 1989, and then you go back to 62 and then to the 1900s, the early 1900s of this family that was tied to this town. And then this whole town, when it first came into existence, was brought up as a mining town. There was a lot of silver in the town, and there's mines all over the place. A lot of them they have shut down and all closed up so you can't get in there. So the town has this creepy old mining history. And in the mines there would be deaths, people would disappear and whatnot. And so after this has kind of come to an end, people in this town have still been disappearing at a regular pace. And you find out as you go on, her grand's disappearance was also linked to the mysteriousness of what was happening in this town. All these disappearances and these deaths seem to somehow be linked, and then they all go back to the 1900s to this one family and these other families that are all intertwined. And so in this town too, people keep photographs outside of their house and they're all framed. And Syl keeps asking, why are these outside the house like this? And no one will give her a straight answer. They're just they ignore it or just move on to the next subject and whatnot. So she's like, what the crap? What is going on? And so it's a crazy horror story, and it's weird, it's disturbing, and there is, please read your content warnings because there is sexual abuse in this and a few other things that people may find quite disturbing, so always read your content warnings. I believe if they're not always listed in the book, you can look them up a lot of times on Storygraph. This book, they're right in the front. And I don't think that themes are that much of a spoiler. I know maybe some people do, but anyway, read your content warnings. That's my point. Sorry, sometimes I get ramble on. So, body shows up all mummy-like, and all of a sudden, Syl starts to connect the dots to all these disappearances that have happened over the years. And then other disappearances start to happen, and people start having these strange dreams. The kid whose dad was a body that they found that was like a mummy, she talked to the kid who had seen him like the night before, and he was like, yeah, saw him. He's very short and doesn't say much. And then the only thing he ends up saying is like, I had this dream that my dad's eyes were glowing silver and his veins were all silver and something. And then he said something about him looking like a mummy. And he had no idea the state of how his dad's body was found. So he had this like crazy dream. So if you've been around the channel, I've mentioned maybe once or twice, so not a lot, but I love books that tie in dreams into stuff because it's such a fascinating subject for me. I believe there is a lot to our dreams that, I don't know, that can be foretelling and whatnot. So I loved that about it. I was captivated throughout it, like starting the first couple of pages, totally pulled into this. Steph Nelson, want to read more. She's got a book coming out this coming year in fall. I want to say it's called The Threshing Floor. I definitely want to read that one. This one is awesome. I was not prepared because, like I said, I thought it was going to be a vampire novel because I'm dumb and didn't pay attention. I saw the vein and I was like, I want to suck your blood. Mining veins, Sin. In the mines where creepy stuff is. And mines are so freaking creepy. I mean, you think about it, there's no lights. There's weird stuff down there. You start hearing voices and creepy stuff. I love this. I need more stories that are underground. There's not a ton, but I love when it's like, and this is not really, you don't spend much time underground. You get a bit of being in the mines, but not a ton. But I love that aspect of it. I don't know of a ton of stories that go underground. Recently, I read also Where He Can't Find You, Darcy Coates, and there's stuff in the mines and it's very claustrophobic and like underground and it's so creepy and I love it. Like more underground horror, please. I want to read more. If anyone has any suggestions too for any like underground weird horror stuff like in the mines and whatnot that you've read that you really liked, let me know please down in the comments because I'm interested in reading more because I don't come across them that often. There's like one other book too that I can think of specifically that was like 90% of it was underground, and that was called Etadorpa by Yuri Lloyd someone. I can't think of his name right now. It's on my bookshelf. It's John Yuri Lloyd, and that book is wild. So also, if you are interested in this book, I'll have a link down below, and if you want to snag an extra 10% off, you can use my affiliate code, SimplySend10. Seriously, this book is awesome. Highly recommend it. It's so weird. It's so good. It's so freaking creepy. If you're a fan of indie horror, next video coming up will be another indie horror book. So stick around, check it out. And if you had fun hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.